Stephen A. Smith speaking up against a female MMA. Did you happen to catch this?
I read what he said. Please enlighten me if there's any further context here.
That's basically it. It was just a very old school mentality about, I love combat sports, but when I think of combat sports, I don't want to see women do it. I don't want to see females fighting. And he went on this old rant. But I feel like we're like in a different world now where, I mean, we had a female Royal Rumble. We've had Ronda Rousey.
What was the fight of the year last year?
The fight of the year last year in MMA was two women. Generally considered the fight of the year was Zhang Weili versus Joanna Champion, Joanna Violence. And that's what we brought. That's what we had.
Man, I read what he said. He did preface it with enough like, this is just my opinion. You know, I'm only speaking for, that's it. You know, ESPN has really drilled that into him. You know, anytime you're going to bring up one of these Steve Harvey ass opinions, please make sure people know it's just you.
Steve Harvey has opinions.
That's what they are, right? Steve Harvey has opinions.
I don't know when he's playing a gimmick because I feel like he is playing a gimmick. I feel like he's playing a character half the time, Stephen A.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, if that's your pedestal and that's what you're using it for, that's who you are. You know, well, he's doing it for money. Well, then he's being himself for money. I don't know what to tell you. I think it really wasn't like the biggest deal. People shouldn't like spend their time getting mad at him. But yeah, it's an old mindset. It sucks. It's you know, he doesn't want to, because he starts talking about, I don't want to watch a woman in a cage fight with a man or any combat sport with a man. It's like, one, nobody's fucking talking about that. Anytime people start inventing shit to get mad at, that's when you know you can just tune that radio out. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of did.
Man, we also have some interesting news, and I feel like you're going to have very strong feelings about this next news story. So Charles Oliveira turned down eliminator fight with Michael Chandler. How do you feel about this?
He sure did. Well, let's be clear about the circumstances. They wanted him to take it at UFC 258, which I don't know if you've checked the calendar, Jesse, is in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So should he have taken that fight?
No.
On 2 weeks' notice for a spot he's by everybody's account he's already earned. The guys in the locker room are saying it's important to be like, oh, it should clearly be Charles Oliveira and Dustin. Fucking, you know, everybody in that division, up and down, everybody who's nearby in weight class. You ask any of these fighters, men, who should be the lightweight champion? Everybody says it should be Dustin or it should be Dustin versus Charles.
And we finally have the date for Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor. It's going to be March 8th for the now overshadowed but unified 140-pound junior welterweight title. This is basically two guys saying, hey, come on, Teofimo Lopez, come get these belts. How do you like this fight?
You're not wrong. I love this fight. I think this is the fight that nobody's talking about in boxing, including us on this podcast, unfortunately. But these guys, they haven't been in big fights recently, so it's a little tough. You know, Josh Taylor's last outing, he knocked somebody out with a body. The first body shot he threw, the guy fell down and started walking to the back.
I picked that guy to win.
What?
I said I picked that guy to win. I was like, hey, man, this guy's undefeated. He's won all his fights by knockout. You're like, but he's fought no one. But you don't know about these guys from these third world countries.
Taylor beat Rougarou. Josh Taylor's really good. Taylor's on my pound for pound.
He's an underrated boxer.
Man, and Ramirez, amazing boxer and super tough.
He's the most underrated boxer.
Yeah. Both these guys are amazing. I'm super excited for this fight, and it's a great thing. We're seeing unifications. We're seeing champions who want to take the Pepsi challenge. And it's crazy. I'm seeing this in other sports. Jiu-jitsu, I'm seeing this. Wrestling, I'm seeing this. I'm following, all these combat sports I'm following. Something about COVID has made people be like, yeah, fuck this drama. Let's just go, chase legacy.
But definitely, I'm assuming that the winner of this is going to call out the oversized Teofimo Lopez to come to his accurate weight class because he wants that fight. Dave said it. And speaking of Teofimo Lopez, he's got a few fights left at lightweight. And it looks like it's now more likely that he's going to fight Devin Haney next, as opposed to the George Kambosos Jr. fight that we all were unenthused about. We knew he was going to get
resigning ourselves towards. We were already looking forward to the Kambosos fight. Like, wow, and it'll be in front of a crowd. That's cool. like just appreciating like the smallest comfort of it. Man, I didn't realize that I heard they were putting together the Haney fight. I didn't realize that was in place of the Kambosos fight. That's great news.
Yeah, he's the leading candidate.
So that to me says he knows he's got no time at this weight class, and he is just gonna try to get scalps up on the shelf before he gets the fuck out of there. He might have to, you know, for all we know, that's gonna be his last fight at lightweight before he moves up.
Right.
Could be. Man, Haney's one that he could go out on for sure. Way more than if he was going to take more fights. I was a little surprised he didn't move up after he beat Loma, to be honest. You know what I mean? You know, if you're going to leave on a win, that's a great one. But now he wants to defend his unified championship. Man, Haney's a great one for that. Haney's a great one for that. I love that fight.
Let's see what we have next. Oh, speaking of the weight class,
that fight, right? I mean, tell me, Haney and Teofimo. From the outside looking in, let's think about it for a second. Who are you favoring early on? Super far out.
I would have to go with. I got to give it to Teofimo Lopez just because of past people he's fought, but I've always heard of the potential of Devin Haney. But Devin Haney didn't look that good against Yorikis Gamboa. Gamboa was a smaller, older fighter.
Not great. I agree. You can definitely understand why Teofimo will be the betting favorite when lines close and all that. He's going to look coming in like everybody's going to pick him, but everybody will say the same thing. Wow, tough fight, great fight. Lopez by close decision. Or people do that bullshit where they're like, I predict a split decision because I predict one ref is going to be in the bathroom for 4 rounds or whatever. You know what I mean? I fucking hate when people.
The 4 kings fighting each other is what it is. It's the beginning of the round robin.
The short kings.
I'm excited about it.
The 4 short kings of boxing.
The 4 short kings thing. And we also have another one of the 4 kings. It looks like they've cooled down the highly promoted Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao fight. He promoted it on his social media. It blew up. It took over, and they're saying they're cooling down on those negotiations.
Meaning that it's becoming less and less likely that the fight.
Less and less likely.
Man, I feel like that was an undisciplined move from Ryan. From what I understand, listening to the people who are kind of like more familiar with the situation, listening to them talk about it, it kind of sounds like he fucked up and he like jumped the gun on that. They're like, hey, man, we have him at the table. This is starting to look pretty good. And then he, was like, the fight's on. It's going to happen. That's immaturity in the game. That's immaturity on the business side because he probably fucked his money. If that's true, he might have really fucked his money up on that one. Because you get a Manny Pacquiao fight. That's big money for a kid like that.
Money. But so would have been the Gervonta Davis fight.
Factual. And now, but it looks like he pissed that off too. You know what I mean? He pissed off Gervonta and sent Gervonta looking for another fight, which he'll probably take. Manny, now those negotiations are cooling down. He's going to fucking end up, with some lower rank guy that he's just got a stunt on again if he's not careful.
Yeah, I think the best if you're managing Ryan Garcia is don't tell him about the fights till they're signed.
I think that's a great point. Man, seriously. And straight up, man, it's going to sell. Don't worry about that. You don't have to get him that on board. Talk to Reynoso. Talk to, the head of Twitter or the head of TikTok or whatever. But you don't need to really hit up Ryan too much. Hey, champ, you feeling good? Great. We're going to talk to you again soon. That's all you need.
Don't be like, hey, we just negotiated Pacquiao. It was not signed yet. Don't say anything on social media. What
is the best he can possibly do to help? There's nothing. And he's the kid's a great boxer. The kid, his hand speed, all that. His win against Luke Campbell was an unbelievable fight, actually.
He's got Gatorade. He's got Gatorade money.
Bro, he's making all types of money. He's dumb as a post. Let's be honest. And he'll do whatever. The kid will do whatever you tell him for the most part. That's what athletes are really the best for, right? They're good. They're coachable, ideally. You can't coach him to move his fucking head and feet for some reason, but he's coachable. Man, fucking, you don't need to just tell him, show up at this time at this weight class, and he'll be good. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see Broner this week? Do you have another topic? Can I throw in one real quick?
Yeah, throw in one, 100%.
Broner going off about like, why do people? I'm only early 30s. Why do people think I'm all past my prime? Because you were just like 600 pounds. Because we've been paying attention. You were just in jail and like weight, twice your fucking weight. That's why Adrian Broner. Like, well, why? You mentioned that Manny Pacquiao is no longer champion, Jesse.
Yes.
And that the title has gone to Ugas, and now it looks like Ugas is going to fight Errol Spence. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's a great fight. I think people
That's a beautiful fight.
Yes.
That's a great fight. Ugas is a bad motherfucker, and now he's a world champion. But is he a world champion? It feels iffy to say that on like, not gifting him the belt, but it is weird. You know what I mean?
I feel like it was a political move. I feel like they felt, okay, if Pacquiao's going to go to 140 to fight against Ryan Garcia, he's not going to need this belt. Meanwhile, Ugas, we're trying to get a fight against Spence. And what reason do we have to promote Spence versus Ugas unless it's a unification fight?
I think it makes a ton of fight. I think it makes a ton of fight sense. I think it'll make money. Spence has had really good. His last fight came in with a really good pay-per-view number, which is good news for him. And it's a super tough test. And Ugas, we've been saying since he fought Sean Porter, man, this guy is one of the best in the world, and he can make a tough fight out of anybody. And if the problem in the last fight was that Danny Garcia looked a little hesitant to get in there and really exchange for whatever reason, Ugas, we expect, will be less so. Ugas is really aggressive. Ugas really got in there with Sean Porter and was backing up Sean Porter for large periods of that fight. So we should expect, for any possible lingering doubt that it still exists with Errol Spence's condition, he's going to answer those questions when he fights Ugas. I don't know if he'll successfully answer them, but we're going to get answers.
Yeah. Bold prediction, I got Ugas by upset.
Bro, it could happen. I'm sitting here trying to like put that together for people. Like, this is a fucking fight. This is a real thing. Ugas has a style that Spence has struggled with at times, and Ugas is crazy underrated. This is a real world title fight.
People don't follow Ugas. People don't follow Cuban boxers for whatever reason. They're some of the best boxers in the world historically, going all the way back to the 70s. But they don't follow Cuban boxers the way they follow a Yoel Romero, a Jorge Masvidal in MMA, or a Valerie Laredo. What do you think it is about Cubans and MMA that they've been able to break through so much, but not in boxing?
Boy, that's a great question. I think part of it is the team that they're in gives them down there in Florida a lot of access to media and things like that. Mm-hmm. I feel like certainly when it comes to Masvidal is his own thing because he was born in Florida, right?
Yeah.
It's a different situation being Cuban by heritage and by or being Cuban by birth and by nationality like Yoel Romero is. Mm-hmm. That's super different. I don't know why they haven't really caught on. It's a much more boring style, right? It's a much more boring style that the Cubans tend to play. Ugas, I would say, is not super typical of the Cuban style. He's a little bit different. He's kind of on the other side of that, actually. Because usually, it's like really defensive masterminds who can stay safe while picking you apart with strong amateur fundamentals, which might win world championships, but they don't win many fans. On top of that, they just tend to not be very good in interviews. And in boxing with the Ali Act, you need to sell yourself more. The UFC isn't there as a machine to sell you for yourself. You need to be the one doing that so much more.
I can't remember which Mexican boxer it was, but his translator used to hype him up so much. They would ask him, they said, what do you think of your opponent? Well, I think he's a very strong fighter. I think he's doing well. Then his interviewer would say, I knew I could dominate him. These lightweights can't handle my strength. I'm like, he didn't say any of that. That was not the translation the fighter said at all. So
he says he's going to knock him out, pull his shorts down, and fuck his butt cheeks.